Good morning. This is Sunday, July 13th, 2014. I'm Don Pye, standing in for Jim Hodson with our continuing updates on the restoration of Amon Carter's Travel Air 5000. Lanny here, I think, can fill us in on what's happened over the last week and a half.
Yeah, well, we got the final finishes on the wings and the ailerons, and then we've been. Actually, we got the final finish on the fuselage too since the last time you guys were up here. So
okay.
Now we're doing the windows and the windshield is the next thing to finish up. I've got most of the windows in the right side yesterday, and today we'll do the left side.
Okay.
And a little work on the gear. Get the gear in the blue paint.
Speaking of the windows, what is the glazing that's going on?
Well, this is acrylic. It's plexiglass. It's what we're putting in it. I don't know what they had back in the day. I don't think they had plexiglass back in the day.
Sure
so
they didn't.
So it was probably plate glass in the day, which was probably why it was so faceted, because they couldn't curve it.
Exactly.
So
and that's another question I had too. The original materials, the plate glass and the wiring and fuel tanks and all probably added a lot of weight to this aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any idea what this will weigh in relation to the...
Well, I'm actually, when we put it together, we're going to put it together for the first time here in a week and a half.
Okay.
And I've got it set up so we're going to weigh it. The book says that empty weight was 2,700 pounds.
That seems pretty light.
Yeah. For as big as it is,
sure.
A 52-foot wingspan and 30 feet long, and it weighs 2,700 pounds.
Exactly.
So it's pretty light.
That's light. That's right up there with a Volkswagen.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So the interior, have you done anything on it?
I haven't really done much. I mean, there hasn't done much to the airplane. There's interior work going on, in the back shops and,
right.
and my suppliers that are doing the headliner and stuff, but we haven't got anything in the airplane yet.
Sure. Okay, let me go turn the camera around to the wings.
Okay.
Let you talk a little about them. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, well, for those of we don't have smell-o-vision, but if you can smell it, these are freshly shot. We shot these this morning at about 7 o'clock, and they're still outgassing. But the ailerons and the left wing behind me is all in final coat. The next step in about 3 days after this cures really good is to mask off the big N number, the big C number at the time. It didn't have NC, so this is earlier than they did that. This is just going to have C, and then 3002, the registration number on the airplane, and then the commercial airmail route number 3 logo that goes on the bottom of the wings. So there's a lot of text on the wings, which I think gives it a good snap, because it'll be, and it's almost originally I bet it was a sign painter that put it on.
I'll bet you're right.
But we're actually gonna tape it off, mask it off, because the sign painter is a lost art.
All right. Okay, and you have good documentation showing exactly how those markings should be.
Yeah, we got a lot of good pictures of how it was. I mean, there was actually the pictures that we have, there was 3 different paint schemes on the airplane between 1927 and 1931.
Okay.
So,
all right.
it'll
go back with the last markings that were on.
It's actually going to be the middle one.
The middle one.
Yeah, it's going to be the middle one, because I think when we don't have a good picture of it, but the latest picture we got, and it's a slight little detail, but it had the NAT logo, airline logo on the side, and on the the factory scheme and the second paint scheme, it said U.S. Mail Express underneath the logo, and then the last scheme it said, it didn't have U.S. Mail, it said NAT Flying Services underneath the NAT logo, which from what we've determined was they took it out of the regular route. It wasn't flying a scheduled route anymore. It was a charter airplane by that time, and they replaced it with something bigger flying the regular routes.
Sure. Yeah, I think tri-motors came in.
Yeah, so we're trying to do it. We want the U.S. mail and the whole airmail story to be represented.
I think those might have been Fairchild tri-motors
Yeah.
that replaced these.
Oh, did NAT fly Fairchilds?
I believe so.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's curious.
Yeah. All right, well, I'm going to turn this camera around to this other wing.
Okay. Well, everything here is on wheels. You've got to be able to move this stuff around when you're working by yourself, or at least with few hands. So we actually rolled this wing out this morning when we shot the other one to avoid having to mask it off to keep it from getting oversprayed. So,
Right.
But we shot this one yesterday morning at 6 o'clock because it's getting to be 100 degrees, and this polytone that we're using doesn't like the temperature. It needs to be in a
sure.
cool weather.
Right. Yeah, it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and it's already almost 90 degrees. It's
Right.
over 100. Right. Lanny, how will you transport these pieces?
Well, I've actually got a rig set up that I'm going to move the wings kind of like I describe it like a big gurney, and we're going to pick up the lift strut attached fittings because I don't want the fabric to touch anything, obviously, when we're moving it. So it's going to be a rig like we've got on the root of the wing, picking up the attach angles, and then we're going to pick up the lift strut angles with a 2x. It's going to be like a sawhorse with rollers on it, so we can roll it into the museum, stage all the parts, and then assemble it without setting something on the floor or
Sure.
having to have 6 people to carry the wings because they're heavy, and there's really no place to grab it. The way it's constructed, the only thing you can get a hold of is the root and the tip, because there's no structure in between it. It's all light sheet metal and fabric covered, so there's no place for helpers to grab a hold of the thing.
Well, how much does this wing section weigh that's behind you?
The wings they're about 300 pounds.
That's not too bad.
It's not too bad, but
Yeah.
with only 2 guys, there's only 2 places to grab it. Only 2 guys. That's a lift.
And you can't put straps underneath it and let them get on both
Yeah, I
sides.
don't really want to put any load on any particular spot because the leading edges are 019 sheet metal that's basically just nailed around the wood. So it's almost aluminum foil and fabric. So you got to be really delicate or you're going to dent it up. And if we look at the early pictures, if you see the picture where Amon Carter and Will Rogers and what was the other guy's name? Lott, the NAT
Yeah.
EP Lott is giving the title over to him. If you look at the airplane in the background, it's really beat up. The leading edges of the lift struts, the fairings that go on the lift struts, where people push ladders into it to gas the airplane, it's all beat up. And
I think we know that the airplane suffered a nose over before then too.
Right.
Which could have contributed to that.
yeah, it's pretty battered up in the background.
Sure. Well, I think he would be proud.
Yeah, I'm sure of it.
I know that I am, and I know that the people of Fort Worth will be when they see this, and it'll be a long-time remembrance for Mr. Carter.
Yep.
All right, Lanny, well, I'm going to turn off, and when Tom gets here, I'll pick this up with him.
Okay.
And I think you've got things to do, so I'll let you go do those.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, now I'm here with Tom Swindle. Tom's been putting in an awful lot of time on this airplane. Just beautiful work. Right now we're looking at the landing lights that hung under the wings of this Travel Air. And I'll let Tom tell you about these and how they work and where they go.
Yeah, I'm still chasing dirt daubers. I had to disassemble this one this last week because way down inside there were dirt daubers, a big dirt dauber nest. I don't know how many pounds of dirt dauber condos we've dug out of this thing, but this one I got it all cleaned up, chiseled out all the dirt dauber nests down way inside this inside cone. And so it's about ready to all go back together. These there were dirt dauber nests down in here, and there's still a little bit of that one. So I'm still getting
the housing for the lamp there, is that right?
Yes. Now these swivel down. He had 2 levers as best we can tell, and they were up inside the wing flush with the bottom of the wing. He could pull this lever and it hinged down out of the wing like this, and lit up this great big huge landing light. And so,
What is the rating on that lamp?
you know, I'm not sure. I didn't take the lamp out. I don't think it says. No, it doesn't say anything on it here. So, but
Turn it around. Let's see the back of it.
the very back, there were even dirt daubers back here on this part of it.
I bet. And what's the purpose of those center cones?
It focuses. There's a mirror back here, and then it focuses it down to a point out in space out there somewhere. Right. And that was technology of 1927.
Probably still used today.
And it probably is. They're a little lighter and a lot less energy demanding. So, today with the new LEDs, you know, they don't create any heat. Sure. You could fry an egg with this thing on. Oh man, you can feel it out here.
You probably set the wing on fire if you forgot to turn it off.
Probably so. But
Tom, would you mind walking down here by the wing?
Sure, no problem at all.
So, maybe.
Okay, this is where the landing light goes, and like I say, it fits flush with the surface, the bottom surface of the wing. And then, like I say, whenever he pulled this cable, it's spring loaded, and it hinges out from here and opens up and shines the light down on where he's trying to land. And you can see the mounts and the electrical connections. And it's pretty. It's a real Art Deco look thing to me. The way it's got the teardrop bulge on the bottom of it. But we were going to try to have one of them on, but the power demand was so big, and LEDs. You know, the new LED stuff didn't demand as much power, but it wouldn't give the right effect. So they're both going to be mounted closed.
Tom, I asked Lanny earlier about the electrical system and the demands that were on it. He said as far as the interior lighting, the dome lighting and all, he said that they carried a battery. And there was no generator power. But what about for these landing lights?
You know what?
Supply a lot of power.
Well, they were 12 volt. Harry fired one of those up. He had. I think they both worked. We haven't tried to fire them up, but the way we've got it wired now is going to be low voltage, and it's all going to be LED. We're just running the wire out to the tail, and we met with the folks there at the museum, Dusty, and we're just going to take that wire out to the outside the tail of the aircraft, and they're going to take it from there and have a power supply somewhere hidden where you can't see it. Yeah. So, yeah. Right.
But on the original, do you think they powered these landing lights just from the storage battery?
Yeah.
No generator?
No. That's all we can figure out.
They didn't have to run very long.
No, they didn't. And like I say, that thing demands some power. But Harry had it. One of them fired up, and just off of car battery. But battery technology these days is so much better than it was back in those days. You know, I don't know if it was a dry cell or lead acid or what they were using, but
yeah, they were probably either 6 volt or 3 volt.
Well, these were 12 volt.
12 volt.
Yeah. So
I know those cars back in town were
6 volt. Yeah. Yeah, and they could, you know, I'm not sure what they were using or why, but you know, there's no drawings, there's no nothing on this airplane other than just the photographs that we've been able to uncover. And but
all right, let's walk over and look at the instrument panel.
Okay. Here is the instrument panel in progress. This is what they call a QEC, quick engine change panel. Whenever they pull the engine, this went with the engine. It's the throttle, the fuel, the mags, the tack, oil pressure, oil temperature. That all went out with the engine when the engine was removed. So it was indeed a quick engine change. They didn't have to go in and unhook stuff to take the engine out, because it all went out in one piece. All they had to unhook was the fuel lines. But this one's pretty well done. I just finished it up yesterday. It will fit in this square area here. I got the airspeed glass on. This is the only original.
Hold it over here.
Oh, okay. This is the only original instrument we got with the airplane. So this is the airspeed out of the Travel 5000, which is pretty neat. They don't make stuff like this anymore. It's a Pioneer Instruments, which Pioneer is still around as I recall.
Were these instruments illuminated?
I don't believe so. No, these weren't any internal or anything like that. He did have two lights up underneath the glare shield in the cockpit. So yeah, they were illuminated to a degree, but not like they are now, where they're internally lit or eyebrow lit. Very easy to read. These were like having a cigarette lighter kind of thing, looking to see what your airspeed was.
A little rail back.
Right, exactly.
Well, what about the other instruments and controls? Were they part of the airplane, or are they?
Yes, this is the main instrument panel. And like I say, this fits in this square area here. This thing had been so chopped up that the original mounting that went with the engine and everything we've got bits and pieces of it, not much. So we're kind of faking it here. But that's the most expedient way for us to approach this project.
Will there be any back panel wiring done?
No. There will be, the cockpit will be illuminated, but it's going to be back here behind the shoulders of the pilot.
Okay.
So it will be shining down on the cockpit, so you will be able to see the instruments and the instrument panel. So. But yeah, I'm still work in process.
Is there any plans to make placards or stand-up easels that have pictures of these instruments and tell what they are and how they work?
That's a good question. Nobody's approached us to have any of that done. I would hope that the museum folks would, have some sort of information, and we'll provide any information we can to them. We'll probably give them that book of all the photographs that we've got from the very, back in the 20s and 30s.
Because this will be a tremendous educational experience for a lot of people.
Yes, it will.
And I'm just looking here at the engine and it's mounted on the airplane. And it's not only functional, Tom, it's artistic.
Yes, it is. Yeah, yes.
And like they say, they used to design airplanes where if they looked like they would fly, they would.
Yeah. Well, it was a new science. I mean, they haven't been flying, but not that many years when this airplane was designed and built. And so, yeah, they were going a lot on just automotive, that type of technology, because the Wright brothers hadn't flown that many years before this airplane was built. Of course, there was a lot of advancements during World War I, but this still new technology.
Wow. Just amazing.
Yes, it is. Yeah, as you can see, the windows are going in now, so that's the browns just to protect the windows for right now. But
Tom, is there anything you'd like to show me over on the fuselage?
Not really. Most of my say again.
I think we pretty well covered it.
Yeah. Like I say, we're just putting the windows in now. The final blues on there, final silver on the wings.
Right.
So everything's clicking right along. Jim was here yesterday and got a date for the rollout from Lanning, which I believe was August 1. The 1st of August.
Well, that's coming up on.
Yes, it is. That's why we're spending so many hours up here.
Okay.
So, but yeah, markings have been determined. Jerry Asher is getting all that, the stencils made up. for the marking.
Right.
And some of it will be freehand. I think we've just covered that a little bit earlier. But yeah, it's really going to make a difference once the NAT logos on the sides, and it's all marked like it's supposed to be, and it's really going to stand out. We're excited about that.
Well, Tom, in addition to the aircraft, I hope something is available to tell who's responsible for bringing this back to life.
Well,
Jerry Asher, you know where we'll be about him.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
You and Lanny.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, there'll be that information is available to the museum, and we'll furnish anything. And I've got boxes of old parts that came with, they were extra stuff and all that's going to go with it. I hope, because it needs to all stay together, because this is a rare airplane.
It does.
And so it all needs to stay together.
Okay.
But,
well, Tom, I'm going to turn this camera off.
okay.
And appreciate your time.
Oh, absolutely, no
Appreciate all
problem.
the work you've done.
It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun.
And what are you going to do without it?
Oh, we've got plenty to do. We've got a L5 over there that we've got to finish up. We got Lanny's T6 out there to get finished up. So yeah, we got plenty to do. Plenty to do.
Okay. Well, real quick, really before I shut down, could you give me just kind of a thumbnail about your history and how you got into aviation?
Well,
just briefly.
Okay, I got hooked on aviation back when I was a young man. I lived in Abilene, Texas, and I grew up. My father went to work for Dice Air Force Base when Dice opened up, and from there on, whenever I saw that stuff flying around, I was hooked.
Sure.
I ended up in the aviation industry, spent most of my career doing flight simulation, doing computer-generated visual systems, and I was fortunate enough to travel all over the world, working with the military and the airlines, installing their flight training simulators, and these things were the ultimate video game.
Right.
They had EA-6B, Navy's attack bomber, shipborne, was a full mission night simulator, and it was just like the real thing.
Right.
And then I went on and stayed in aviation until I retired back in 2008, and still doing this stuff.
Still love it.
I still love it. I always will. Always will.
All right. Well, my first memory of aviation was when I was 4 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and a B-36 flew over and it scared me.
I bet so. It's scary enough as today. You're like, holy moly.
Yeah. Okay, all right, I'm shutting down. Thanks a lot.
Oh, no problem. No problem.